Alright, welcome back to Rock and Roll Racing. In the last episode we made it to NHO, which to my knowledge does not stand for anything. And the boss of this planet is named Butcher Icebone. I couldn't remember his last name in the last episode, so I looked it up. And here we have another one of those tracks that reminds me of every other track in the game. This is a take 2, by the way. I don't know what's been happening to my screen capture software, but it seems like it wants to crash every once in a while. As far as I can remember, it has only been crashing on the Super Nintendo, but I could be wrong about that. So in the last episode also we were talking about a lot of top-down isometric racing type games. And there were a few that were slipping my mind that I wanted to go over and mention because, again, a lot of these games are really fun and I think you should check them out. Is that going to hit him? Wow, okay. I guess so. See if this hits him. Yeah, those things are awesome. I don't know how much damage they do, and I don't know if the damage is cumulative. I don't know how to word this, but I don't know if there's a distance between each hit that needs to be so that all of them make contact, because a lot of times I just shoot a bunch of them in a row and I don't know if they do as much damage as if I was to put a gap between them. I'm sure that'll make sense to somebody. So anyways, the games that I alluded to but never mentioned in the last video were Hanna-Barbera's Toons, which is a foot racing game that reminds me of Manic Racers, or Manic, I can't remember what it was called. I mentioned it in the last video. Manic Micromaniacs, that's what it was called. It's a foot racing game, but I thought it was on the Nintendo. It is actually on the Super Nintendo, but it was only released in Europe. So most of my viewers in America, obviously, have probably never heard of the game, but it is... I find the game to be somewhat satisfying. I haven't gotten too far into the game, but it's a fun little racing game. It's definitely better than Micromaniacs, in my opinion. So about this track. This is a good example. It's the first example we've seen of a track, I think, where... the engine in this game differs from the engine in RPM Racing. In this game, if I was to try to take that inner square without going through the outer loops in this track, it wouldn't register when I came back across the finish line. In RPM Racing, it would. Just as long as I come across the finish line going in the same direction every time, it counts. So I could take this inner square and win the race. And cheap out, basically. Beat the race about 3 or 4 times faster than all the computer racers. And I like that they upgraded that because I find the game to be more challenging because of that. I don't want ways to cheap out in the racing game. To me, once you start cheating or exploiting the game, it becomes not as fun. So let me hang on the inside here and try to get all these money packs. Yeah, here we go. Shoot that and see if it hits anybody. It did, but I don't know how much damage it did. So yeah, I always seem to do fairly decent on that track. Another game I mentioned that I said was a lot like the game Super Sprint on the Nintendo is another game called Super Cars for the Nintendo. I know another game with Super in the title. Okay, here's a track. The first example of a track where you will pretty much not be happy unless you have a nitro right here to get over that second jump, because your car will hit the back side of the ramp on the second ramp and it'll slow you down so much that you will more often than not miss that jump. Wow, that guy just took the brunt of the shots that were fired at me. I wholly approve. Also, I need to remember after this race to go back to the item shop and buy some upgrades. There we go. Well, blow them. Okay, so the Sundog beams are in fact weaker than the missiles, which is, it's understandable to me because the game would probably be, or the player anyways, would probably be severely overpowered if the strength of the Sundog beam was equal or greater to that of the missile, because it's a homing weapon. So I think good balance in a video game dictates that the homing weapon be less powerful than the weapon you have to aim, for obvious reasons. Otherwise, there would probably be more blowing up in the game than actual racing. Thank you, Shred! You are awesome! Now take a scatter pack to the face. Alright, first jump, and nitro. And if you look there, the nitro doesn't actually kick in until I hit the ground. So another game. Japanese only release, so most of you probably haven't heard of it. A Nintendo game. Motocross Champion is an awesome motocross game that some people have called what Excitebike would have been had it as a sequel, even though it was made by a different company. Imagine the perspective and handling of this game combined with a game like Excitebike or Dirt Tracks FX or something like that. I think it's a very well-made game. It takes a little getting used to the controls because of the speed of the motorcycle. Alright, first off, I'm definitely going to upgrade this because I don't want to keep blowing up. I'm going to upgrade it once, that's fine. And I'm actually going to max out on Sundog beams. And buy another nitro. I actually will buy 2 nitro. And upgrade my engine. So, let's get back to the race and see how much more damage we could do with these upgrades. Another game that I failed to mention in a series. This is the only series. Well, no, I mentioned 2 series. But anyways, RC Pro-Am. There were the RC Pro-Am 1 for the Nintendo, and the sequel to that game was actually Super RC Pro-Am for the Game Boy. And then after that came RC Pro-Am 2. And somewhere in there, Championship Pro-Am was released on the Genesis. Let's see how much damage those things do. Alright. Okay. Another game, which I don't think is a series per se because it's on 2 different systems, which doesn't necessarily mean anything. But it was made by the same company. The name of the company is Climax, and the games were Landstalker and Lady Stalker. The reason I kept coming up with both names is because both names are in fact games. Landstalker came out first on the Genesis, and Lady Stalker came out 2 or 3 years later on the Super Nintendo, or more accurately the Super Famicom, because it didn't come out in America. Even though I think there's work in progress by a company or a group of translators called Aeon Genesis, which you should check them out. You can find them on romhacking.net or just search for Aeon Genesis translations. On Google, A-E-O-N is how you spell Aeon, just like Aeon Flux. And I was actually doing a little bit of research about the game and went to his webpage and found out that the most recently updated translation he's been working on is that game, which I found kind of funny. 19,000 can't buy anything with that. I don't know what place I came in the last race. So those are all the games that I mentioned. All of those games, other than Supercars and the Hanna-Barbera Toons game, have a top-down perspective. I mean, an isometric perspective. The other 2 games, Supercars and Hanna-Barbera's Turbo Toons, have more of a top-down perspective. They don't have this 45-degree angle viewing. Another jump. Oh, wow, I made it. I can't believe I made that jump. Okay, the turn is here. I keep trying to use my nitros. I don't have any. Okay, so the Sundog beams do go behind you. I thought that they only went to the characters in front of you, or in the front of your line of sight, your car's line of sight. Yay for explanation. The song is awesome. This is probably one of my favorite songs in this game. I think this is Paranoid by Black Sabbath. Yeah. And this is one of the examples where I actually like this version better than the version by the band. I do like the version by the band, but I heard this one first, and the guitar solo in this game is slightly different than slightly different than the solo is on the album version of the song by the band. What place am I in? Last place? I might need to reprogram my controller because the way that it's set up like a Super Nintendo controller. Oh, there's my famous jump again. The way I hold the controller is not very intuitive for where the Sundog beams come out. So there's no brake on this car. Wow, this is fun. Let's turn around and get a little more boost. I need to really remember to look at the track, and if there's not, see if there's 2 ramps in a row on these tracks, because if I use my nitros, it'll mess me up. One possibility is for me to upgrade the engine. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna get the money power up since I'm in last place. Always a good tip for anybody running a race on this game. If you're in last, and you know you're not going to win. Butcher ice bone there. Also, I don't know if I mentioned this in this video, but I always thought it was kind of funny that the little car right there looks like it's sitting on top of my camera insert here. I think it's kind of funny. Okay, 22. I can't buy anything. I really want to get another engine upgrade. Alright, let's unload. That's right, I unleash hot fury. Oh, this track is, it just looks disgusting. Alright, let's concentrate on the race here. And we're talking about other video games, even though video games are awesome, and I know probably more than I should ever have known about video games. But I enjoy them, and they're part of my childhood and my adult life. And I like sharing them with the people that also found them interesting. And like with the videos I watch on True Doors channel, which you should check him out if you haven't. You can find his, if you look at my Mario videos, there's a link to his channel in the description of all of them. But he plays a lot of games I've never heard of before. Well, not necessarily never heard of before, but I've never played / beaten before. And I think he has a good style of commentary. And it makes those games that, even if he's playing games that I wouldn't necessarily have wanted to watch someone else play, I think his commentary really livens up the game and makes it more fun to watch. So, wow. I think I'm in the same boat as in Nintendo Capri Sun as far as that goes. We both believe that people watch the Let's Plays primarily for the commentary, and the video game footage is actually a secondary or a bonus to the commentary. Because, like I said with Virtuador, he can, if he's enjoying the game, even if it's not a game I've enjoyed before, I can enjoy the game along with him, and like seeing the progress and seeing how he reacts to the different challenges and things like that. Which is why I also suggest games or mention games in my videos that I didn't necessarily like, because if somebody comes along and watches one of my videos and does like those games, I would hope that they would be inspired to actually go out and make videos and LPs of those games themselves, so that and put a video response to them in my videos, and I'll watch it and see if I can enjoy this game that I didn't enjoy personally, or maybe there's something that I wasn't picking up on the game. Like I misinterpreted the handling, or I was going about the game the wrong way, similar to misinterpreting the handling. Like that monster truck racing game. If somebody out there enjoyed that game and they wanted to play it and do a Let's Play, if for no other reason than they heard someone talk bad about the game, then I want you to justify the game. I think all video games were primarily made, or should have been primarily made, for entertainment. And if it's a chore to play the game, then nobody's going to play it. This game being a prime example, the handling is one of the things that turns off my sister and my wife to this game, because they don't, the handling to them is not intuitive. So if they were to want to experience this game without having to play the game, they could come and watch these videos, which my wife watches some of my videos with me when I'm editing them. I doubt she watches them on her own, just because she's not an avid gamer. But she does get to experience the game without the frustration of not being as well versed in the game as I am, and having played it as long as I have. Because I've played the game so much that even if I'm doing bad, I still enjoy the game. I really need another nitro, and it is the only thing I want to buy that I can afford right now. And I'm doing, let's see, 16 is half of 32, right? So I've had 7 races. Yeah, I'm doing below average. I have less than half the amount of points that I need, which is no good. I'd rather not race a division twice. I've already done it once. I don't mind doing it, but I'd like for you to be able to see new content as soon as possible, without having to watch a 40-minute video of me going through the division twice in a row. Okay, I remembered those were there. I don't know how. Sundog, beam it up. Get him ripped. Get ripped. Sweet. You know, even if it takes 7 Sundog beams to blow up somebody with whatever their armor power up is, or their armor level is, I think it's worth it, because if you can blow up one person without having to aim at them, and continue to pay attention to the race and not where you're shooting your missile, then I totally think it's worth it. Because each lap, if I blow up one person, that increases my chances of making it to the finish line. Another thing to mention about these Sundog beams, which I believe this is a correct statement. Playing the game in the past with my brother, I seem to remember that Sundog beams will actually dissipate after a certain distance. So if you're far enough away from the other racer that's shooting them, it might not hit you. I think they do dissipate, probably about half the length of the map. If you look at that, I would assume, if, say you were on the square-shaped map on the first planet, if you were to shoot it from one side, I think it would make it just barely to the other side of the other map, if that far. But I have no evidence to back that up on video. Wow. Yeah, I said I was going to upgrade my car with every bit of money I had. So I might just max out my nitros and then upgrade all the rest of the armor and stuff. And the last thing I'm going to be updating is definitely going to be the... How do I use all 7 of those already? The scatter pack. I don't use it that much, and I guess I use it. I kind of habitually push all of the buttons, the weapons and nitros up at the top of the screen. I hold the controller, the accelerator, the B button down with my thumb, and I don't know how to explain this, but kind of wrapping my first finger around where it's laying above all of the other 3 weapons, the projectiles and the booster, the nitro, and I just push the button as I see fit, so I never have to move my finger. It is kind of awkward, and it will strain my pointer finger after a while, but it's the way I've always played it. The way that the controls are on the Genesis version of the game, it took me a couple of races to to figure out that since there's only 3 face buttons instead of 4, unless you're using the arcade stick, you have to double tap the accelerator to use the nitro, and the accelerator is either the A or the C button. And the other 2 weapons, which I think are still laid out the way they are up at the top of the screen, the forward projectile on the left side and the rear projectile on the right side, if they're laid out the same, it isn't in the same way that they're lined up on the top of the screen. Like the A button would be the Sundog beam, the B button would be the nitro, and the C button would be the back end, the scatter pack. I don't think it's laid out that way on the Genesis, but it is laid out that way on the Super Nintendo. The Y button is the Sundog beam, the X button is the nitro, and the A button is the scatter pack. So to me, this version of the game is more intuitive. Did I just use a nitro? Whoa, I almost missed that jump. Who did? It sounded like he just said nothing launches himself, or silence and then launches himself. Like the sound effects were overlapping on themselves, which is what happens a lot in the Genesis version. In some instances, mentioning the Genesis, the sound in the Genesis, well, in the Genesis version of this game, I hate the sound on the Genesis. Because I played the Super Nintendo version, and I was a Nintendo kid. Now, as an adult, I appreciate the Genesis for some of the innovations it brought along, and for Sonic, even though I hated Sonic. I think that having competition, Nintendo having competition, gave them incentive to make a better product, and I think that's one of the reasons that a competitive market is a good thing, because if only one company made the product, then there would be no reason for them to make a better product, because they're the only ones that make it, and other than just pride in the product and customer reaction, they would have no other reason to make it. Which is why I think things like E3 are so important, the press conference, because it lets all of the investors say, hey, these are companies that are doing stuff, and what is my company doing that's different than all the other companies? Or the company that I want to support, what are they doing that's better than other companies? But anyways, there are games on the Genesis, just like games on the Game Boy, that even though they had sound limitations, were able to make really good sounds and really good music. An example of that for the Game Boy is a game like what's it called? Navy SEALs, I think is what it's called. It's a game Virtuador is playing right now. The music in that game is fantastic. Haven't paid too much attention to the sound effects in it, but generally, my philosophy on sound effects and background music and things like that is, if you don't notice it, it's probably doing the right thing. If it's supposed to be over the top and spectacular and you don't notice it, then it's doing the wrong thing. But if it's supposed to just complement the visual side of the game and you don't pay attention to it, then that probably means it's doing the right thing. The games on the Genesis that I think used the hardware's sounds really well, the music in the Sonic games, I've always found to be very enjoyable music, even though I don't like the gameplay, just because I'm a Mario kid, and the way that Sonic handles is far different than the way Mario handles, and that's probably by design. I don't think Sega was trying to copy Mario. I think they were trying to create competition for Mario. And that may not have been their sole reason for creating Sonic, but it happened. I don't really like the way that the gravity works in that game. I know it's a momentum-driven game, but I don't play it the way that it's designed, so I end up being frustrated with it. Like I said with my wife not liking the controls in this game. She likes the controls in Sonic because she grew up with Sonic. I don't, because I didn't. I expect it to be one way and it's not, and that frustrates me. And I don't like it when a game frustrates me, because it's a game. By definition, a game should be fun. I think a game should be fun. Otherwise, it should be called work. butcher. Well, I came in second. Alright, how good am I doing now? 29. Wow, really? So I have 3 more races to get 300 more points. So I could come in last place 3 times and still make it to Division A. So I approve of that. And so I guess you're going to get some extra races today. So hooray to the people that enjoy that.
The stage is set. The green flag drops.
And also, let me know what you think of the subject matter in the commentary. I try to have an even mix of commentary on this game, but I also like to talk about other things too. If I was to completely avoid talking about this game, I would think it would be kind of strange. The commentary would seem out of place. But I think I have enough to talk about in the game, even though you've seen some of these levels multiple times. Rip is going to blow up. So, yay, scatter pack. See, I do use them sometimes. They're a defensive weapon, and in a battle racing game, I don't play defensively. I play offensively. In sports games, which I know I've never mentioned a sports game on this channel for good reason. I'm not normally a huge fan of sports games. I'm a defensive player in sports. When I had a bad experience as a child playing baseball, I played, I think it kind of scarred me for liking sports for the rest of my life. But I was in Little League in baseball, and when I started out, the pitcher was the coach. And somewhere along the line, I don't know what the specific age range was, but at a specific point, I didn't have a problem with the coach pitching the ball to me because he was anywhere from 2 to 4 times my age, depending on who he was. I had some pretty old coaches. But I trusted an older person to throw the ball over the base. Wow, it's been a long time since I've talked about baseball. But at some point in time, some age range, they decided it was a good idea to let the children on the other team throw the ball. And in my mind, someone who was my age, which I didn't feel comfortable throwing a baseball, someone who was my age, I didn't think had enough dexterity, I guess would be the word, to throw a baseball across the plate. So I developed this irrational fear of someone hitting me with a baseball. And I never swung the bat. I paid so much attention to the ball to where all I could do was avoid the ball. And I just, since the kids were actually pretty bad at throwing the ball, I don't know if I ever got hit with one. But since they were pretty bad, I just banked on hoping that the kid would throw enough out of what is called a ball, not over the base, so that I wouldn't have to hit the ball and I could just walk. And I think only twice during that season did I walk because of 4 balls. Don't really have much else to do here. I guess I can buy another upgrade. But at the end of that season, I told my dad I didn't want to play baseball anymore, and I didn't. So my next upgrade is probably, let's just go ahead and get a last nitro. My plan is to upgrade the cheapest of these 2 whenever I get enough money. So that'll be 48, and then the next one I think's 60,000 or something like that. So I'll upgrade that again, and then I'll upgrade the engine, and then the next engine upgrade is 110,000, I think. And then I'll get all the scatter packs, and then I'll have a fully stocked vehicle, hopefully before or a couple of races into the final planet, which we will see 2 videos from now, probably, depending on how good I do in the races. So I believe that this video has gone on long enough, and I hope you've enjoyed every minute of it. And let me know what you think of the topics and commentary in the game. And any other games you'd like to see me play, or any topics you would like to hear my opinion on. Other than that, thanks for watching the video, and see you in the next video. Bye.